Just anyone could confirm, is the screen clearly visible? Yes or no on the chat, please. Yeah, thank you, Chintamani. Right. So, friends, now let's have a look of what we have planned for today. Today, once again, we are off from the practical aspect. Like yesterday, we did a practical application where we did regex and web scraping, which is more of a practical application of Python. We are back into some core concepts and how do we code them. So today my objective is we are going to be learning completely everything in and out about objects and classes in Python. Moving a little further, of course, there are some topics which relate to classes and object, which is going to go as we move further. And there are going to be some small exercises, which could be about 5 or 10 minutes, which we are going to solve. So while the lecture happens or while the practical hands-on happens today, you would possibly be having some small practicals to do, assignments also to do along with me. And as we move further, after understanding what is overriding, how do we destroy objects, how garbage collection happens in Python through a code, and then we will be ending our topic. So this is actually an extra topic which I have given over here. What my understanding happens is I will definitely introduce you to this topic when we end at around say approximately 5 o'clock or maybe 5 or 5. So that's going to be application of OOP COMSYS, that is multi-threading. I have kept this topic because of the fact that some of you who are aware about classes and objects or inheritance in terms of some other language, you will definitely learn it today in Python. But then when you learn it in Python, that inquisitiveness comes in mind. Why am I learning it? Why can't I code normally the way I was coding for the last 3 days? Why should I learn classes and objects at the first instance? Why should I learn inheritance? क्यों पढूं मैं ये सब चीजें? So let's look at a very practical and a simple application of inheritance, which is there because of classes and objects, and that is called as multi-threading. So I'll be explaining you a very simple case of multi-threading. I'll try my level best to reach to this point. I hope I reach to this point. Okay, right. Chaliye. So friends, now beginning with the first fundamental aspect of classes and objects. Let me cut the scrap. Let me cut all the traditional theory part about a class and object. Think it like this. If I am in a factory which is, let's say, manufacturing cups, or let's say we are in a factory which is manufacturing bread, example quality bread or Bibs bread or Britannia. So if I look at these factories don't make one cup, they make thousands and lakhs of cups. The cup in which we have our tea, the glass cup. They don't make one slice of bread or one packet of bread, they make thousands of packets of bread. How is this possible? This is possible because they're using some machinery. When they're using machinery, all the machineries have something in common. All machinery, you take up any machinery in the world, they have one thing in common. They have a mold, they have a structure. And because every machinery is having a mold or a structure in common, they can produce things in hundreds, in thousands, in lakhs. And all the things are going to be identical looking. Don't expect one cup to look different from the second and second to look different from third. No, no, all the cups are going to look identical. So whether it's cups or whether it's cars, factories will produce them uniform. This is the idea behind actually making a class. See, manufacturing came first, then came software development. And in software development, the concept of a class. Class is much later. Manufacturing is there from last 500 years. You've been manufacturing for last 500 years, maybe from last centuries, few centuries back. But object-oriented programming came somewhere in the 1980s with a C++, right? So this is of course quite new. So how did classes and object came into existence? It came into existence because they looked at how manufacturing happens in traditional sense. And they realized that if I want to make something uniformly and in hundreds of quantities, I first need to have a class. So my class is like a factory, which can help me to produce one object, many objects. It can help me to produce one object, or it can help me to produce n objects. And all these objects are going to be identical. Identical in what terms? Identical in terms of attributes, identical in terms of methods which they can use. Imagine if I plan to make a class called a car, let's say. I'm taking a very generic example which everybody can connect with. So if I make a class called car and if I make one object of it, so whether I make one object of the class car or I make n objects of the class car, all the cars are going to have an attribute like doors. The class is going to be two door or a four door. Similarly, a class called car can drive, so it can drive forward on the gear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, and it can drive backward, which is also called as reverse. So either you can drive forward or you can drive reverse, isn't it? Right? So notice that if you are able to think what are the qualities or what are the things which a car should have, you will dump those things like an attribute or like a method in a class. Once the class is ready, you can make n number of objects of it, and that is this this concept or this funda of you making first a class and then making objects of it and then using them in programming. See how we go. We first make a class, step number one, then we make n number of objects of it, step number two, and then we use them in the programming. This technique or attitude of programming is called as object oriented programming. Oops. Okay. Now, with this concept in mind, friends, let's see of how we define a class. The very first thing is to define a class. It's very super simple. I use the keyword called class and I have to give a name to my class. So let's say I've given the name as my new class. And whenever you define a class, a class has to do something, no? A class is defining a Maruti car, or a class is defining a Audi Q3, or a class is defining a college, a class is defining a OnePlus phone. What is a class defining? So, and what is the purpose of the class? You usually put this as a doc string. So how do you put a doc string? You put triple quotes here and you write whatever you wish to write. Usually doc string is not very lengthy. Huh? Keep the doc string short. It's like usually one line, which describes, in short, you're giving a description of what the class can do or what is the class meant for. Okay, I've just written a word pass here. Ignore this. I've written the word pass here, meaning to say the class has nothing. There is no body to the class. Okay, right. So there is no need to run this particular cell. If you want to run it, there is no harm. You can run it. Just a second. Huh? I'm just changing my drive account so that, because, yeah. So if I just run this cell, there will be no output. But a class called my new class will get created. Now, friends, this notebook is little theoretical. There are a lot of theoretical concepts we'll have to remember. So please feel free from your heart, from your mind to post me doubts on the chat as well. If you wish to ask me on audio, you are welcome there also, whatever you feel comfortable. Right. So what I need to remember now. So there are a lot of special attributes. There are too many special attributes, trust me, in classes. And all the special attributes with respect to Python will always start with a symbol called underscore. So in Python, wherever you see anything which begins with an underscore two times, underscore, underscore, underscore should come two times, remember. If it comes two times, that means this attribute or this term which I'm writing on the board here is a special predefined attribute. Remember this, okay? So I'm not talking only about the term called docstring. No, no, no. Anything in Python which begins with double underscore and ends with double underscore, it means it's a predefined attribute, as a special attribute which is available in classes and objects. Okay? So for example, if I want to see this docstring, then this docstring actually got stored in the variable underscore underscore doc underscore underscore. Okay, we will see them. Don't worry. Let's take a very simple example. I made a class called person, as you could see. This is my doc string. This is a person class. I have given the age to the person is 10. You can change it to whatever you want to. Let's say you want to give your age 40. Yep, it's cool. So there is a function called greet. So there are two things in this class person. First, there is an attribute. Second, there is a method or a function. Okay. So if I move one step further, what I can notice is, so my class is over, huh? My class definition was only this much. Let me put it on this white screen, a little bigger. Here. Okay. So what I can notice, friends, here is this much is your class. See, your class is over. So in the first 6 lines, your class definition is over. Now you are using your class. See how you're using it. I'm yet not made an object of it. मैंने अभी तक क्लास पर्सन का ऑब्जेक्ट नहीं बनाया है. आई एम जस्ट यूजिंग इट डायरेक्टली. So print person. Person is my class name dot age. Age is my attribute, so I'm printing the age of the person. Print dot greet is actually going to print the address. It's going to print the address or the identification of the function called greet. And last, I am printing the doc string. Let me show you this output at both the places. I'm showing you this output on the command prompt over here. We run this code, friends. So with comparison, usually what happens is that on the collab, I'll have to keep scrolling up and down to show you the complete program and the output. Now this is very clear, they are coming beside each other. Easy for viewability purpose. Okay. So what do I see? I see that first the age was extracted, so it came as 40. Second, what happened? I know you'll be wondering, it should have printed hello. No. It will print hello, my friends, if you call the function called greet. Trust me, I never called the function. But no, aren't you calling? No, I'm not calling actually. See, when you have to call the function, you have to make an object of the class and then call it. I haven't called it actually. You know what I'm doing? I'm saying class name dot the greet. So greet is the name of a function. So it's going to print where the function is stored in the computer's memory. So I'm printing the details of greet. So it says that the greet is a function and it is stored at so and so address. Okay. And last is a doc string of the function, which is this. This is a person class. Suppose tomorrow I change this doc string, and instead of the doc string, this is a person class. I write here, this is an FDP. This is an FDP. And I rerun my program. Please notice, friends, this is an FDP. I see this is an FDP. So change the doc string and I see the respective output over here. Okay. I know you'll be asking me, okay, how will I call the function? Please don't worry. Give me 2 minutes. We are coming into it. Okay. But be along with me. I hope you have ran the class person. So if you have ran the class person, please tell me a yes on the chat. So you have to be descriptive, huh? You have to say person yes. Otherwise, I'll not come to know what yes you're talking. I'll not understand because there are so many yeses coming on the chat continuously. Person yes. Very good. Perfect. Nice. Okay. Now, please notice I'm going on to the next small tiny thing called creating an object in Python. It's super simple. Super simple. I have to think of a suitable name for my class. So think of an object name. See, your class name was person. Your class name was person. Okay. Now think of any object name which you like to give to this particular class. So I'm giving the name as Suven, Suven. You can change this name or whatever you wish to. So let's say I give the name as Samran. So Samran is a person. That's right. So Samran is a person object actually. So whenever you call the class name and put a pair of brackets around it, you're actually calling something called as a constructor of the class. Constructor is like a builder who goes to build a building. He's a developer who builds a building where you and I stay. So very similarly, there is a constructor. You will be wondering where is the constructor, but no, that is not visible to us. That's okay. It's not visible. That's fine. So it actually calls the default. So not visible to our eyes, friends. It calls a default constructor. Even you can put this comment. You're calling the default constructor which constructs the object of the class, and you're dumping the object into the object name submarine, and submarine.greet would give you a message called hello. Why hello? Because we said that anybody who calls greet, I should print hello there. So I can say instead of the word hello, we could possibly put something hello from Python. Okay? Hello from Python. I'll just rerun this uh, shell once again, because if I don't run the cell, then this new print will not be compiled. No. So let me run this once. Okay? And now let me run this again. Let me see now what submarine is printing on the screen. See what she's printing. Hello from Python. Okay. So friends, just don't keep running your codes. I will be more happy if you can alter your codes and keep running. Little minor changes is going to be more fun to run. Okay. Very good. So now Rutuja says hello done. Very nice. Others, please acknowledge. Okay. So I'm surprised. Huh. Very good. Dattare also says hello done. Mandana says hello done. Very good. Good, good, good. Now, Dr. Kirti says error. Dr. Kirti, you may have got an error because possibly you may not have run the previous cell, class cell जो class person जहाँ define है उसको पहले run कर लीजिए. Dr. Kirti, please post your error so that I can help you on your error. But what my common sense says is, I think Vandana says I have a doubt. Yeah, Vandana, please go ahead. Either you come on audio or you can post it out on the chat, whatever you feel. In Java, when we want to use the contents of a method and we don't want to make its object, so we have something called class name or method name. That's right. That's right. We have a facility called static. So in Java, you have put it out halfway through, right, Vandana? Your doubt complete sense should be that in Java you can mark the method as static, right? But here we have not marked it static also. No, please understand. We have not used a static keyword over here. So obviously we shouldn't be getting that facility in Python also. And plus, let's not compare Python and Java for unnecessary reasons, because Python is not a Xerox copy of Java. It's a separate language and it has nothing to derive from Java. So please keep them independent. That you will be learning it better. Okay. Otherwise you will be stuck with your mindset कि वो वहाँ ऐसा होता यहाँ पर ऐसा क्यों नहीं होता. Right. Now, so friends, if you have ran the class person and then you made an object, whether you made it with your name or you made with submarine's name or you made it Suven's name, whatever in material, you got an output. Now notice one very critical thing. Now if you notice, every method, I repeat, every method which we define in Python, it will always have a self keyword. Let me show you in a bigger screen here. Notice this. Notice the self word, right? So what is the self word actually holding? The funda here is this. Whenever you make an object of the class and call a method, for example, p is equal to, suppose person. So person is my class, p is an object of the class person, and I'm saying p dot read. So sorry. So the object p is being used to call the greet function. that any object is used to call the function, that object's address is also getting passed. That object's reference is also getting passed in Python. And who catches it? The variable self catches it. So the variable self, which is compulsory, the first parameter of every method has to be compulsorily the word self. And self is supposed to hold the address of the object which called the method. Tomorrow, if you feel that I wish to do this way, for example, I don't want to create an object. Let's you comment this, and you want to call the function greet from the class person itself, then the class person's address would obviously get passed into self, isn't it or not? Because ultimately the class person is also sitting somewhere in the memory. But will it end up calling the function? Feel it yourself. See what happened. Did you get what happened? See, it gave you an error. Type error. Greet missing one required positional parameter or argument, self. You say, no, I have given self. You have given self, correct. But what are you passing to the self is missing? No. You say, no, it is given. No, a person is given. No. You cannot. So the rule is one who is calling, or rather the object which is calling the function, the object which is calling the function, its address is going to get passed into self. So my friends, if you do not make the object itself and you end up calling it by the class person, then object is not formed. Right. If object is not formed, then object's address, how it will go? Correct. That means self won't get anything. And therefore, you get this kind of an error. So you have to be a little careful in Python. There is a way to overcome this kind of an error by changing the programming style, but that's not the way of doing programming. The right way of doing programming when it comes to Python is that you create an object of a class and then use the object to call the function. If you ever wanted to call the function, Python has this explanation. If you ever wanted to call the function by using the class name itself, then why on earth did you make the class? There are a lot of shortcomings of Java actually. So Java is, uh, made programmers unfortunately bad because it has been kind of patchy programming. Patchy programming means Java allows you to actually have a class and you define a method as static, and you then call the method directly from the class. So just try to imagine this. At the what is the objective of making a class? The objective of making a class is that you should be creating multiple objects of it and calling the function. Then if the basic objective of the class itself is defeated when you actually call the methods by using the class name, all the properties are shattered. The properties of abstraction, the property of encapsulation, and the basic objective of using object-oriented programming itself is shattered. So this Java programmers don't think about in the industry, and there's a reason they are losing ground. They're all losing ground. This is the application is shifting to Python now. So Python is, in a more sense, is a little practical, where it has taken care of the objective of the or the theme of the object-oriented programming is taken care there. Okay, right. So now let me get you introduced to the funda of the complex numbers. I'll take this example because instead of scrolling up and down here, I would prefer to put it out over here. It's more easier to look at the screen and the practical output screen here. Okay, let's see. So let me read these comments first. Class functions that begin with a double underscore are called special functions. So any function you define in a class which begins with double underscore are special functions. One particular special function which is of interest right now to you and me is the constructor of a class which begins like this: underscore underscore init, INIT. underscore underscore. So if you write any function in Python like this, the way you're writing here, underscore underscore init underscore underscore, then that function is called as a constructor in Python. And its job, you know very well, the job of a constructor is to make a object of a class. Now, let us take an example. I have a class called complex number, and in the class called complex number, I have a constructor called init. Please see it carefully. I'll take a 10 seconds pause while speaking. Okay, so I'm talking of this underscore underscore twice, init init underscore underscore. Okay, so what we see here is a constructor. You will also notice a small thing, that this constructor, like every other method, compulsorily has to has the first parameter as self. What is the role of a constructor? Constructor's role is to make an object of a class and initialize its variables. Okay, so all of us know that complex numbers have two parts, real and imaginary. Real part, imaginary part. So whatever r and I value you pass me, I'm basically dumping them into the variable. That's it. So whatever r, I repeat, whatever r and whatever I you pass me, I'm dumping that into self.real and self.imaginary. Now question is, what is self.real? Okay, this is very interesting. Whatever object you make by using the constructor, obviously you feel that you made an object, so you should dump attributes into it. So how do you dump attributes into an object? To put attributes into an object, you are going to use self.rel equal to r. So when you say self dot something, that becomes an attribute in your class. Again, self dot imaginary, okay, that becomes an attribute in your class. Okay, so the basic objective or the fundamental thing which I'm trying to talk about here is that when you go ahead to make attributes inside your class, you have to use a self dot. So as many you do self dot a, self dot b, self dot c, that many attributes are being made inside the class called complex number. Now, there is a very simple function called get data, which says that I will print the real part plus the imaginary part. You will notice one very simple thing, that outside the imaginary part, I'm putting a symbol called j so that it looks nice. It looks really imaginary. You made a complex number, dump the object into num1. From num1 we have called get data. I'm sure you will agree that the address of num1 would get passed into variable called self. Next, I'm making a complex number with only one parameter 5. अरे रॉकी जी, इसमें आप imaginary part भूल गए. Patience. I know मैं imaginary part देना भूल गया, लेकिन the 5 has gone into the real part, so r becomes 5, and the imaginary part is by default 0. Notice both the parameters are having some default value. So even if you don't pass any parameter, still your object will get created with the real part as 0 and the imaginary part also as 0. Okay, now the next thing, if I want to add at runtime any more attribute from my side, I want to add an attribute from my side. So what we have done is, num2 is an object of type complex number with only the real part, imaginary part is 0. Now I thought I should add some attribute from my side also, extra attribute. Now you can do it. See this? So num2 is an object dot attr is adding an attribute in the object num2. It's not in the class, huh? Please remember, attr is an attribute not in the class. It's an attribute only in the object, that is num2, and it's holding the value as 10. So if I wish, I can go at printing it also. Have a look. num2.real part, num2.imaginary, and num2.attribute. All of them should get printed. Let's see. Now let me shrink this a bit. Yeah, let's see this. So the first data called complex number num1, which we printed at line number 14. It came normally as 2 plus 3j, 2 plus 3j, as you could see. Num1 dot get data. When I did this, I got 2 plus 3j. Okay, now I'm going to the next one. Num2 is a complex number only holding 5. So, and you made a new attribute called 10. So in short, you made a complex number with 5 as a real part, 0 as an imaginary part, and 10 as an extra attribute. So you printed it. 5 is a real part, imaginary part 0, attribute is 10. See, 5, 0, 10. But please remember, attribute is only there in num2 object. In num2 object. It is not there in num1 object. Let's not misuse. Num1 object has nothing like attribute. Num1 object only has real and imaginary part. So if you do num1.attr, please notice, you're getting an answer as attribute error, complex number object has no attribute attr. Okay. Now, I'm giving you a patient 1 minute. I'm turning off my audio. You are welcome to ask me your doubts. You're welcome to post your queries on the chat window, but please run this code. And also look at the output of the code. Give it a time. Give it that patient 1 minute. Everyone should get that error. That attr attribute is not there in num1. Everyone should get that error. So Archana says error occurred. That's good, very good. Shwasni says done, got the error, very good. Yes, and please watch the error carefully. Right. So good enough. So all of you have got the error, and I've also got a query from Rutuja. And the query goes as that when to use attribute. So there is no reason for using the attribute. Rutuja, the objective is basically over here that if you add an attribute to one particular object as an extra attribute, not in the class, then you have to be a little careful of using that attribute only in the respective object. Like, the funda over here is this. That let's say that you made a class. Let's say you made a class, and this class is having, and from this class you made two objects. Let's say object O1 and object O2. Now you are realizing that whatever attributes are the most common, let's say the attributes A1, A2, and a method M1 is common, to all objects which you make of the respective class. So you will dump those attributes and those methods only in the class, so that whenever I make an object, I will get the attribute A1, A2, and M1. But if you know that in certain special cases or in certain exception cases, you feel that the object, let's say in this case O2, could have one special attribute only in certain cases, and that special attribute is A3, but that attribute is not generic to all, so I will not dump it into the class. See, if I dump A3 into the class, then attribute A3 will be applicable to all. So in that situation, what I will do is I'll write the object O2 dot the attribute A3 is equal to that respective value which you wish to assign. So this particular value will only be applicable to the object O2. By mistakenly, if you say or try to use it over the object O1, we are bound to get the error, attribute error, which we got right now, which I wanted to highlight. Okay. So if you add any special attribute to a particular object, we should remember to access only from that object. Okay? Right? Yeah. Now, Dattara has a question. Okay. Method self word is necessary. It is compulsory. Dattare. Self is compulsory. Can we use another name instead of self? No. No. Of course, you can use another name for self. You can write S or you can write ABC. You can write your own name there. That's okay. Because objective is that this parameter over here called self, you can add any name here. You can add ABC. That's okay. The objective, there has to be some attribute here which is going to receive the address. But it is a de facto standard that we use self. Like for example, if I change all these names to ABC and run this code, you're still going to get your output. Please notice. Oh, name self is not defined. Where self is not defined? Ah, okay, okay. The one which I've used inside here. Because I have to change everything to ABC. ABC, and then this also to ABC. Okay, I'll keep this to self only. This I'll keep to self, so that I don't have to change that. But then you can see on the board, I have kept for init constructor ABC. So it's ABC.real, ABC.imaginary. Please have a look. See your object got created. See carefully. Okay. So that answers the question. Okay. But then make sure that you keep it self always, because if you keep something else, then other than you, nobody will understand. Okay. Mr. Sheikh has a question for me. Can we have some extra attributes to the name for more than one object, like O1 or attribute 1 and O2 or attribute 3? Yes, yes, of course, you can. No problem. But it will be difficult for you to keep track because the O1's attribute is getting stored or saved in the O1 space, and O2's attribute is getting saved in the O2 space. But then you will get confused when you're accessing the attribute. So preferably give different names if it's possible. Okay. Now, friends, moving one small tiny step ahead, one small baby step ahead is deleting attributes and objects. So what I've done here is I made an object of complex number. So if I want to delete an attribute of an object, I can say del means delete. Num1 is the name of the object. Dot imaginary is an attribute. So I'm deleting an attribute from the object num1. And now, if I try to use get data, please notice, like me, all of you should get an error. Like I got an error which says complex number object has no attribute imaginary, and I'm happy when I see this error. Why? Because this error is correct. No, see, you and I both went to delete the imaginary variable. So obviously, when we call get data, we shouldn't be able to print the imaginary variable as we have deleted the object. That's right. हाँ ये बात तो सही है. तो obviously, after deleting imaginary, if get data is still able to print imaginary, then I will be shocked. I'll be wondering, अरे यार मैंने delete किया था, delete क्यों नहीं हुआ फिर? Okay, so after deleting, purposefully I'm trying to use get data which prints imaginary to see whether I get an attribute error or not. Okay, so please tell me, have you also got the attribute error or not? Okay, Dr. Kirti has a question for us. Any limit on the number of attributes to be added? No, no, Dr. Kirti, there is no limit. Absolutely no limit. As many as you wish to, you can add. Okay, so I hope you are getting attribute error very good. Very good. So the today class is being very active and I'm very happy. It's very nice. You're coding along. Good, good. Right now, friends, let's say that you feel that I don't need in the complex number class. Please hear me clearly. In the complex number class, not object. In the complex number class, you feel you don't need the get data method anymore. Then you can also delete individual methods of a class like this. Del means to delete. Give me the name of the class. Dot. Give me the name of the method. And that respective method is deleted. And to check that, after deleting this method, I'm purposefully trying to call this method, and I'm happy to look at the output, which is attribute error, which says complex number has a complex number object. Basically, it's complex number of an object as a class. That's okay, but this is where the error comes. Object has no attribute, get underscore data. Okay, so get data is gone. So in short, you can delete an attribute, you can delete a method. I'm sure everybody will be getting this error also. Okay, finally, normal query which always comes. If I made an object called complex number, or if I make an object of any particular class, can I delete that whole object? Of course, why not? So I made an object called C1 and I'm deleting this object C1, as you could see, del C1. I'm deleting the object C1, and then I thought let us see whether object C1 exists any longer or not. It shouldn't. C1 doesn't exist. Huh. If you don't believe that del is doing its work, okay, try doing this. You're getting an answer, no? There is no error, no? You're getting an answer. What is the answer? C1 is a complex number object which got made in on line number 1. I have commented del, I'm not, I have commented it, see carefully. Now I'm printing the object C1. So whenever you print an object in Python, it's always going to print the address at where the object is stored. So it is telling me from this main, so everything which you write in Python is considered to be a part of the main module. So by default, you don't see the main function, but it is a part of the main function the way it is in C or in C++ or in Java. There's a main function, no? Instead of the word function, here you should use the word main module. So underscore, underscore, mean underscore underscore is a default name of the main module. So every program you have done from the last 3 days and on the 4th day, every program, it's a part and parcel of the main module. Okay. Dot complex number, this is the name of the class, is stored at so and so address. Okay, so the object C1 on my computer is lying at this particular address. Simple. So now I hope you will agree. If I do a del, that means delete it and then run it, I should get an error. Because C1 doesn't exist after del, so I should get a name error. Okay? Right. So how many of you got name errors? Please acknowledge to me. Okay, so Vandana has a question. Is this an image output which we got here? No, no, no. Image is not the output. Image is the extra image added to explain the concept. Whatever output we are getting here, that is name error, we will get it in idle. So I don't use Vandana. Nobody uses idle, so I can't comment about it. On the command prompt, yes, we get it. Idle is used for writing one-line codes actually. Idle, I do not know. Python command prompt, which is standard way of coding, yes, we get the same error what we get in Colab, as well as in PyCharm. Okay, everybody has acknowledged that they have got the same name error. Very good. So now, friends, I'm sure each one of you is very clear कि कब आपको attribute error आएगा और कब आपको name error आएगा. Plus, you're also clear कि what is a class, how to define it, what is an object, how to make objects, and you also know that from an object or from a class, you can pick things and delete it. You can pick an attribute, delete it. You can pick a method, delete it. And if you don't want the object itself, you can delete the whole object. Right. So, so this is just a dummy diagram actually, just to make things like super simple. When you make an object, that is memory space getting consumed. And when you say del C1, you're deleting the object. So actually what happens when you delete an object is the reference or the name of the variable is actually getting deleted. In the computer's memory, to be very honest, the complex number object is still there, but it cannot be accessed. It cannot be accessed because nobody is able to refer it. So there was only one object called C1 referring to the space, no? So if you delete the reference C1, then nobody is referring it. And because nobody is referring to the space, I'm sorry, you cannot access it. आप यहाँ तक पहुँच नहीं सकते because there is nobody referring to the space. Now, what will happen to the space? Any object in the computer's memory which is not being referred by anybody becomes or is called as a garbage. So this becomes a garbage and therefore it is garbage collected. I've explained the same thing over here also. On the command del C1, the binding between the variable name C1 and the object itself is removed. The binding is removed actually. The object, however, continues to exist in the memory. And if no other name is bound to it, as you could see in the diagram, there is no other name which is getting referring to this space. So this space is automatically destroyed because it becomes a garbage. Now let me explain to you this garbage funda actually. This is same as in all the languages. It is same in Java also, same in Python also. Uh, Imagine in this case, you see that an object is having a name called C1 and it is the object is with a name called C1 and it, as you could see, is holding a reference to a certain space. Okay, certain space here. Now, the funda is this, that Python maintains for every object space something called as an RC, where RC stands for reference count. Reference count is 1 here because there is one object C1 which is referring to the space. Tomorrow, imagine if you wrote a line like this: C2 is equal to C1. Obviously, you will all agree that C2 is also referring to C2 is also referring to the same space as that of C1. So there are two people who are referring to this given space. Therefore, what Python internally does, which is not visible to our eyes, what it internally does is it increases the reference count by one more, so it becomes 2. So now, reference count of this given space which you see here is 2. Okay, this given space is 2. Now think a little on this. There are two object pointed to this particular space. So tomorrow if I print C1 or I print C2, I'm going to get the same output. That is okay. That is understood. But if I say del C1, this object won't get destroyed, my friend, because there is still somebody referring to him. Yes, Python will definitely go ahead decrementing the reference count by 1 and will make it 1. That is okay. That is okay. But now, if you do del C2, del C2 means this link is also being broken. And therefore, the reference count will further decrement by 1 and is going to become 0. Oh my god. Reference count has become 0. Yes. Alarming condition. Yes. Moment and object space reference count becomes 0 within a fraction of a second. The Python virtual machine understands there is some garbage come in my area, and therefore he invokes the garbage collector to collect this garbage. And collecting the garbage basically means that you pick up a duster, how you rub the part on the board in your college, you pick up a duster and rub it. So, okay. So I hope the funda of reference count and garbage collection is clear to you, but I still want all of you to read this in your minds and see if you think you have a question to ask me. Okay. Mr. Sheikh is having a question for me. Can we assign one object to another? Of course, yes. Yes, very much. By the way, uh, Mr. Sheikh, it's like this that when you were dealing with the very first notebook where we're talking about dictionaries and lists, they were also objects. So in Python, everything is an object actually. Even the int variable which you make as an object. Tomorrow if you make a variable in Python like this, let's say you say a is equal to 3, okay, and you wish to print type of a, type of a. Let us see where this works. Let us see. Okay, a is 3, type of a. Please notice. So the least variable which you also make in Python is a variable of type class int. So Python is 100%. It's internally 100% object oriented. Okay. So everything you made, list, dictionary, you made a variable like float. Like tomorrow, if you make this as a float, 3.5, you save this code, you run this again here, see what happens. Oops. See what happens. It shows you that type of A is class float, which is a very clear-cut proof that in Python everything is ultimately an object of a class. Okay, so your answer is yes. Right. So no more doubts after this. Very good. Very well. Oh. Okay. Now I'm giving you some practice examples here, friends, and let me take this example because here I have to keep scrolling up and down to get the full screen view. So scrolling a little lesser. Adjust it a bit. Just give me a second. Yeah. So full screen width is out over here. All the comments to be removed. Okay. Now all of you will, at your personal level, take 1 minute with patience. I repeat my words. All of you will take 1 minute with patience. Okay. And we'll go ahead scanning this particular class. Of course, I'm going to explain, but I would be more happy that immediately post my explanation, you can post me some doubts, no? And that is only going to happen if you take some minute patience, self-conscious time and realize what am I doing in the program. So try to go through this and notice one new thing. In the previous case, we were defining all the attributes by writing self. Here also we're doing that same thing. As you can see in the constructor, you've defined a variable called name and a variable called salary. And so whenever I make an object of employee, I repeat, whenever I make an object of employee, the constructor init is going to be called, and it is my responsibility that I have to pass the name of the employee and what salary he is fetching. So obviously, you assign the name, you assign the salary. But what about the employee count? Why is there no self written? Interesting. Interesting. So this is the way you actually define something on Vandana raised sometime back a static variable. So that's not called static variable in Python, it's called as class variable. So all the variables which you define directly under the name of the class, not in the constructor. All the variables which you define directly under the class, not under the constructor, those are called as class variables. So the beauty of these class variables is you can use them bindas without any self or without any object name. You have to give the class name ahead of them and you're supposed to use them. Okay. So please notice how the program runs. Run the program once or twice, feel it first. Okay. Okay, so I'm sure that you utilized your 1 minute to self-run the program and without listening to my voice or without getting any disturbance could analyze the program. Hmm? Now let me tell you the key parts of how the output is coming like this. So friends, if you notice, there are three things to this program. There is a constructor called init. There is a function called display count, which displays the value of employee count. And there is a display employee function, which prints the name and the salary of the employee. Uh, I made an object of the very first employee called Neetu. I stored it in employee one, and it seems she's earning 23,000 rupees. We made another employee called Vipin, and his salary is 25,000, as you could see. And what I've done next is emp1 dot display employee. Please notice emp1 dot display employee is calling the display employee function, which prints the name of the employee and the salary of the employee, which you could see Neetu and salary 23,000. Same thing we repeated for emp2, which I don't think so anybody will have any doubt. The interesting part is when I said emp1 dot display count, and I'm very sure that some of you would have tried doing this also. emp2 dot display count, saved it, and ran it. I would have also got the same output to total employee 2. I'm 100% sure some of you have done that. And that is what I wanted you to do actually in that 1 minute of self-thinking process. See, when I'm calling display count, we all need to understand that display count is displaying the value of employee count. Employee count is neither the property of employee 1 object nor it is a property of employee 2 object. It is actually the property of the class called employee. I hope you're getting it. Please understand that as regards employee count, वो emp1 ऑब्जेक्ट को बिलोंग नहीं करता, वो emp2 ऑब्जेक्ट को भी बिलोंग नहीं करता. He is neither the property of the objects. He is actually the property only of the class. There is a class employee, and therefore, whether you print it via emp1 or you print it via emp2, it does not make a difference. But then somebody asked me, why are you calling it by using emp1 or emp2? Please understand, I'm calling it via this because I'm not calling employee count. No, I'm calling the function display count. Display count is definitely the property of the objects because display count is a function. He's definitely a property of an object, and he needs an object only to call him because it has a parameter called self. So some object has to call, or rather any object who calls display count will come to know total employees or total employee objects which have got formed till now. Okay, so employee count is a count of total employee objects which you have made till now. And how does it automatically goes on incrementing? It doesn't automatically increments. You are incrementing it in the code. Please notice this. Okay? You are incrementing it by +1. So each time you make an object, constructor is called and the employee count is incremented by 1. Okay. So I hope this code is clear. Mr. Sheikh has a question for us. Static members share common memory, single copy for both objects. That's right. Single copy for all the objects. That's right. But don't use the word static. Don't get stuck to the word static. There's no static funda out over here in Python. So we, instead of the word static, say class members. Okay, I don't see any more doubts coming. So I hope everybody is very clear with this. Very good. Excellent. Right. So friends, you have an exercise 1. And trust me, each one of you would be given exactly 10 minutes to do it. It's not so that I should go on speaking out and giving you all the spoon feeding and then say, okay, ho gaya. No, 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 no. You should do it yourself. And it's very simple. You can do it. Let's see. We have a class defined for vehicles. Create 2 new vehicles called car1 and car2. Set car1 set car1 to be set car1. This is the instruction what you do code, huh? Set car1 to be red convertible worth $60,000 with a name of FER, stands for short form of Ferrari, and car2 to be a blue van named Jump worth $10,000. Okay, this is the hint which I give. If you follow this instruction, you will be able to code what your part of coding is. Expected output is for that is Ferrari is a red convertible worth $60,000. Jump is a blue van worth $10,000. Okay? So let's see this. Pick the code from here and dump it out over here. Okay. Right. Let's see this. So friends, we have a class called vehicle. In the class called vehicle, what I can notice is I have a name attribute, which is like all blank. Notice all blank. So default name of a vehicle is blank. The vehicle has no name. Uh, kind is equal to car. So by the way, all the vehicles are not of the kind car. Some vehicles could be Jeep, some vehicles could be convertible or something else. Or then further we are having the color of the car is also kept blank. There's no color to the car. And description says percentage s. So wherever you use a percentage s, it means it's going to derive a string variable. So 1, 2, 3, this is a float variable, 3 strings. The first string is going to take the name of the car, second would take the color of the car, and third is going to take the kind of car. You can notice from this hint here that it seems that there is a car1 object which has got made. And how do you make an object of a car? Obviously, you will say car1 is equal to vehicle, and you'll put a pair of brackets, right? Right. And next thing, remember, we just practiced some time back that we can pick up any attribute of a car, and or rather we can pick up any attribute of a class and we can give values to it, right? So if the first car is a Ferrari, let's say for FER in short form, and there was some more information given, no? What was it? What was it like? It was, see here, wait. Fur is red convertible. So color is red and the car type is convertible. It's not, so kind is convertible. Okay, understood. So let's try the first one. So our one dot name is Ferrari. Second parameter is kind. Kind is to be marked as convertible. Sorry. And the color attribute is to be marked as red. Okay, right? So Ferrari convertible red. Okay. Now let's have a look. Let me comment part of car 2. Okay. Let me just have this car 1 in play. Let us see whether car 1 prints correctly or not. Car 2 is not defined, but where have I used car 2? Oh, this program never got saved. Sorry, sorry. What never got saved. Saving it, now running it again. Fur is a red convertible worth $100. My God. Oh, value has to be changed. Right, right. Value should also get changed. So R1 dot value is equal to, in our case, it's equal to, I think, 60,000 according to the question that is given. So we'll make it 60,000 here and try running this. Right, this is what the question was. No, fur is a red convertible worth $60,000. So please notice what we have done. We made an object and we picked each and every attribute of the car one object to change it. Okay, and then we called the function called description to print it. Now, can I expect that in the next 2 minutes or 3 minutes, all my friends here are going to do the same thing for car 2 also? And who does it first will post his or her answer on the chat. Please, come on, start your work. The code which I have typed here, I'm punching it on the chat, and you punch your code of car 2 for me. This is the code of car 1 which I have punched. You punch the code of car 2 back to me. Okay? Three minutes, 2 minutes over. Sorry, 1 minute over. 2 more minutes to go. Come on, bug up, please. Gayatri, your example is almost correct. One small mistake. You made the object of vehicle. No, you have given the same name as car 1. The name should be car 2. So finally Vandana posted, but again you all people are making a mistake. See, car 1 क्यों कर रहे हो आप लोग? चेक करो ध्यान से. You're changing half the variables to car 2, other you're keeping as car 1 only. Gayatri, Rutuja, Vandana all made the same mistake. See carefully before punching your answer and check your answer by running it. Finally Vandana gave the right answer. Where all the variables are car 2, correct. Good. But I'll still wait for 1 or 2 more minutes. Till at least 2 more people should give the response. Correct, Gayatri. One more person, at least one more person should give the response now. One more person I would like to see giving an answer. Good, Dattare. Perfect. So, so I'm sure, friends, you have enough answers punched in by your friends on the group. Okay, now let's move on into another concept called Python inheritance. In simple terms, inheritance means something which your parent wants to gift you. Your parents gift you some property. Parents may gift you their looks. Parents may gift you their habits. Parents may gift you their culture. So these things are inherited in all of us. Same thing which is a part of nature is there in programming also. Have a look. You normally make a class by writing class keyword and giving some suitable name to the class, and then there's a body of the class. If we wish to derive, then this is the way we write. Class derived class name, that means the child class name. You open the bracket, and within the bracket, you write the name of the base class. So when you write a name uh, outside of a class and you open the bracket and write a name inside, then this particular thing becomes a derived class, and this is the body of a derived class. Okay, right. Let's take an example. To be very honest, this example which I'm showing you right now, is very simple. But it is necessary to understand the concept of inheritance. So let's have a look at this, friends. So in this inheritance example, I can see that I have got two classes. Let's highlight the word class. You can see there are two classes over here. The first one is a class called super, as you could see here, super. And the second is the class called child, which which is in turn inheriting properties from super. Okay, so I repeat, I've got class super, I've got a class called child, which inherits the property from super. Okay, this is called inheritance. Now, question that comes to all our minds is, syntax of inheritance is very simple, but what all will come from the parent to the child? Remember this in a simplest way: leaving the constructor, everything else will go and can go from the parent to the child. So if you leave this constructor, the super method, the set attribute, the get attribute, all are open properties for child to use. Okay, now let us have a look at this. What about super attribute? Super attribute is actually a class variable. No, please understand, this is not a things which go to the object. This is a class variable, so it is going to stick with super. But yes, super attribute can also be used by the child, but there is a way of using it. He will not use it directly. He will use it, and he will use it indirectly. How? Let us see. So in the class child also there is a constructor, correct? And the class child says, even I have my own method. Every child has his own identity. So the child is having its own method called child method. Okay, now let's go one by one with this. First, I made an object of child. Second, what I'm doing is I'm calling I'm calling the function called child method. As you could see, I'm calling the function called child method. This is his own method, so he can always call it. There's no problem. Look at the next. Child object C calling a method called super method. Where do I see super method here? I don't see it at all. मुझे तो नहीं दिख रहा. In the body of the child मुझे तो नहीं दिख रहा method called super method. इसका मतलब super method is not originally of child. It has come somewhere from the parent. So let's go to the parent. Oh, yes, it is there. Correct. So these three methods, 1, 2, and 3, all the three are usable by the child. And he's bindas using it also, as you could see. Child super method, parent ka method hai wo. Set attribute again from the parent. Get attribute again from the parent. Now look how set attribute is being useful. Set attribute is passing a number called 210, and when it passes the number called 210, that number 210 goes into ATTR, and ATTR is assigning its value to super attribute. Again, super attribute, to be very honest, isn't a property of the child. It is not. This is strictly a property of the parent only. So, but the child is allowed to use it, because child is allowed to use the methods and attributes, so is in turn indirectly allowed to use super attribute variable. So the initial value of super attribute is 300. You have changed it to 210, as you could see here. So if I call get attribute, this fellow gets called, and it should print 210. Let us see. See carefully. First time when you made an object, 22 line, when you made an object of child, this got printed, calling child constructor. Then 23rd line, when you printed child method, this got printed, calling child method. Line 24, when you called c.super method, this got printed, calling super method. When you said line number 25, set attribute, 300 became 210. 26th line, when you say get attribute, you printed the value of the super attribute, which is 210 now. It is not 300, it is 210, and therefore 210 got printed. Please notice. Okay, right? So I hope this is going simple. Now, I'm sure there will be some doubts to be asked. It cannot be so that कि आपको कोई doubt ही नहीं है. You cannot have doubt in this program, but maybe you're thinking of something else, and you wish to ask me by by connecting to this. Please go ahead. 30 seconds, window is open, the chat window is open, friends. 30 seconds, please think, do you have a doubt on anything with respect to this class super and class child inheritance program? And if you don't have a doubt, please put super child clear. Super child clear if you don't have a doubt. Okay, Dr. Pushpa says she's clear with it. Very good. Vandana is asking, is it a single inheritance? Very correct. Yes, Vandana, you're right. This is the case of single inheritance. That's right. Okay. Chintamani, Rutuja also say they are correct. They are clear with this. Very nice. So I can officially delete this program from here, and I think we can move further. Now, this next program over here will help you to go very clear with how the constructor of the parent and the child work together, how they can work together. That means, okay, let me go full screen on this. This is a little tricky program. So once you understand this particular program, you could actually go ahead to run this and ask me your doubts. Okay. Now, usually when I explain this program, instead of yeah, of course I do open the doubts window for you to ask me doubts, but I also ask, very simple, very simple one-liner questions which you should be ready impromptu on your keyboard to quickly answer. So please be ready for that quiz program also after this program. Huh? Okay. Right. So let's see this. So when I make a class, friends, everybody, when you look at this particular piece of code, everybody has this gut feeling. They say, Rocky sir, class person is okay. Class employee is inheriting from class person is also okay. Why did you write the word object here? Interesting. Now, in Python, every class which you make is by virtue of it being a class, it has to inherit from a class called object. I repeat, in Python, any class you make, by the virtue of it being a class, it has to inherit from a class called object. Oh, Rocky sir, are you trying to say that any class I make, even if I make a single class, it is also inheriting from a class called object? Yes, you heard me right. Is this by default? Exactly. Therefore, by default. So even if you remove this, it's still okay. One and the same thing. You simply write class person, or you write class person is inheriting from the default class object. It is one and the same thing. There's no difference. Okay? Right. Study. Let's move further. Underscore init is your constructor, right? This is a constructor of the parent called person, which is accepting from you the name of the person and the ID number of the person, the name of the person and his identification number. The display function of the class person will print his name and identification number. Employee is inheriting from person. Notice in the constructor of employee, you are asking the name, you are asking the ID number, but both of us know ना, आपको भी पता है मुझे भी पता है कि name and ID number are two attributes of the parent class called person. They aren't of the employee class any which ways. That's right. Salary and post. Salary of the employee and the post of the employee. Post, professor, assistant professor, associate professor, or HOD. So salary, comma post. These two attributes of the employee are of the employee only. They aren't of the person. So why do you say so? Because my friends, person doesn't has ना, person के पास तो name और ID number hold करने की ही variables है. Person is not having any permission to hold the salary and the post. है ना? So salary and post will only be held with the employee. But employee is asking for the parameters of the class, for the parameters of the parent class also. Why? Because this is the right practice. Because whenever I make an object of the class employee, I will in turn be making the object of person also. This is the right way of programming, of inheritance in Python. So whenever I make an object of employee, I will automatically ask the outside world the parameters for person and in turn make the object of the class person. Have a look here. So first thing, salary and post have got assigned. So two variables, salary and post, got created in under employee. Now I'm invoking the init of the parent class. See how we're doing it. You write the class name dot constructor. Self to pass karna hi hai. There is no way out. You have to pass self. Name and ID number. Please notice, name and ID number was taken or was accepted by person. Name and ID number was accepted by person, and as you could see, you could pass it up to the person. So employee accepted name and ID number on behalf of person. उसकी खुद के लिए नहीं था वो, क्योंकि employee कहता है मेरे पास तो कोई variable ही नहीं है name और ID number hold करने की. So obviously he was taking these variables on behalf for his parent, and therefore he passed into it. Okay, now what I'm doing next is have a look. I'm making an employee object called Rahul, where this is the ID number, 20,000 is the salary, and the post of Rahul is an intern. And next I'm displaying Rahul's details. Have a look. Notice. So if you notice, Rahul's details have got displayed by calling display function, no? And display function only displays the name and the ID number. I know you will ask me, अरे रॉकी सर ये आपने डिस्प्ले तो कर दिया नेम और आईडी नंबर, but you forgot to display Rahul's salary and post. Please understand that this display function is a property of person. Person is a superclass. In the superclass, I can only display name and ID number. If I want to display the salary and post, then I'll have to again redefine. The function called display in the child class called employee. How? We will do it right now in some time. Have patience. But at least whatever I have done, have you understood this? Take 1 minute, please. With peace of mind, I'll not speak. I'll mute myself, go through your program yourself, generate your questions. Right. So Chintamani has a doubt for us, friends. The doubt goes as: is it necessary to have same name in child class that is display? No, not necessary, Chintamani. Not necessary. But if you keep the same name, then you're doing something called as method overriding. Okay. So only Chintamani has a doubt. Nobody else has a doubt. Wow, very nice. Then in that case, I think you should write on the chat employee person clear. You should write employee person clear. Okay. So now all of you please be ready on your keyboard to answer my quiz, and you should answer this quiz in maybe in 10 seconds. So moment I finish my question, you should be typing in your answer. My first question is this. In this first line, class person is inheriting from object. Is object a class made by us or is it predefined? Made by us or predefined? Very good. Excellent. It's predefined. Great. Next question. Please be ready. If I remove the inheritance of the object and I run the program once again, will I get the same output or a different output? Same or different? You're correct. Very good. Dattare, Chintamani, Rutuja, excellent going. We are going to get the same output. Fantastic. You're answering at flying speeds, at the speed of light. Very good. And my last question, impromptu on this program is this practice where a child constructor is accepting parameters on behalf of the parent, is it a good practice or a bad practice? Excellent. Gayatri, Dattare, Rutuja, excellent. It's definitely a good practice. Very good. Right. So time that we can move ahead and look at the importance of super function. If you recall, when I started my session at sharp 3 o'clock, I told you that I'll try my level best, because see, I have actually made my content for 2.5 to 3 hours. Why? Because at times when we do training of the AICT programs or of companies or whatever platforms which invite us to train, is certain audiences, we know this, we know this, we know this, so we know all the things. So obviously then we have to have more content, no? We'll have to have more content so that we can spread out the time, because we do not know what the audience is all about. At times we get audience who are completely from CS and IT. This, sir, we know all this stuff. Let's discuss on that. Let's discuss on this topic. So we will have to then go move away from it. So we always keep the notebook half an hour, 45 minutes more than the content. But because here at the FDP program, which is being organized with Sabosudik, what I can feel that it's a very diversified and a mixed crowd and a very energetic crowd. That is also very important. The crowd is energetic. See, any FDP program is successful because of you people. Yes, we trainers, the coordinators, the hosting organization do play a role, but our role is limited. Our role can only have importance if you all people are participative and you are going excellent. Right. So let's understand the next thing called super function. Superman type, Spider-Man type, very super powerful person he is. So Python is a super function that will make child class inherit all methods and properties from its parent. Okay. By using super function, you do not have to use the name of the parent element. Achha, interesting. It will automatically inherit the methods and properties from its parent. How? Let us see. We copy this code. So the same code of that Rahul becoming an intern, same code here. Let us see. Let me delete the comment part. Look at the class person friends. You will notice everything is same. Nothing has got changed. Class person, who is a super class, has a constructor which holds a name and the ID number. Displays printing the name and the ID number. In the child class called employee, who is inheriting person, a good practice, as you all know, to it's a good practice to accept parameters on behalf of the parent. So I'm accepting name and ID number on behalf of the parent. Salary and post is the parameters exclusively of the employee. Notice this. If you notice last time, or rather if you remember last time, you literally wrote the name of the class person. So you can actually avoid that. You can simply write super method, which means I want to call constructor of my super class and pass him the attributes name and ID number. Notice one more thing also. Last time we had to pass the parameter self also. This time self is out. So it looks very decent. It looks very neat that I'm calling the constructor of the parent. Super means parent, and I'm passing him what he requires. Simple. And thereafter, I'm initializing what is meant for me. The class employee says, मेरे लिए क्या है? What is exclusively for me? मेरे लिए salary है और post है. ठीक है, I will assign it. Isn't it? Right? Just take care of one thing. That the call which you make to the super constructor, the call which you make to the super constructor should be the first statement in the child constructor. I repeat again. The call which you make, line number 14, the call which you make to the super constructor or the parent constructor should be the first statement, not the second, not the third, not the last, the first statement in the child constructor, line number 12. In the child constructor, line number 12. Okay, just remember this very simple thumb rule. It is given somewhere in the notes. Don't worry. All the rules I'm speaking about are given in the notes. 100%. So it will work the same way. Let's see. Do we get the same output? We should know. There's no reason of not getting it. See, as you could see, you get the same output like previous. Okay. So I hope super function or the purpose of it is clear. And if it is clear, just write super in brackets and clear. Great. Super is clear. Very nice. Okay, so I think I would be able to touch on method overriding and examples of it. And the last concept I will be able to touch, I don't know how, but okay, we will try to fit it. Would be method overloading, which I'll have to possibly stop. So everything thereafter, okay. And just destroying objects I have already explained you conceptually. Okay. So make sure that destroying objects and application of classes, that is multi-threading, the theoretical application, again, theoretical look to it. So is something which you should do as an extra reading from the notebook. Let me go with overriding. So what is overriding? First thing, friends, overriding can only exist. And I was very happy because I think Dattare already pointed out this particular point of method overriding beforehand. So I'm sure some of you already know it. So I think I can go a little fast on this. Overriding friends can only happen when you're doing inheritance. Without inheritance, don't even think that you can do overriding or overloading. Forget it. You cannot. First thing. Second, when you're doing method overriding, the function which you define, or rather the right word is the function which you redefine in the child class, should strictly have the same signature. Same signature means should have the same name and the same number of parameters as that of the method in the parent class. So if you remember last time, we defined a function in parent called display. If you plan to override this fellow, you have to define a function with the same name called display in the child. You cannot say displays and expect that this guy is going to override this fellow. No, 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 no. That it won't. It won't. Then display is going to be a different function, and displays is going to be a different function. Okay, right. So let me take this super simple example. This is a very simple example in front of you here. So friends, I can notice that I've got class parent, which has a function called anything. This is my child class. In the child class also, I have a function called anything, as you could see. Now, if you notice very carefully here, line number 6, very surprising, no? Line number 6 is having a function called anything, which is overriding. I repeat, which is overriding. Why I'm saying overriding? Because this guy has the same name as the function which got inherited from the parent. See, suppose if this guy was not there, think for a minute. Think for a minute that this fellow called child has no body of his own. So if the class is having no body of its own, so you have to compulsory write a keyword called pass. Pass means I don't have a body. Like for example, if you play a game of cards, and if you don't want to take your turn, you say pass. So your turn gets passed on to the next person. Same thing could happen here also. Example, suppose I make an object of the child, object to child, and I'm saying object to dot anything. But is there a function anything you see? Line number 5 or 6, you see the function called anything there? No, it doesn't. Huh? So if you make a call over the child will automatically pass, like how you pass your turn in the card game. The class child will pass his turn to the class parent, which is seen here. And the class parent should therefore have the function anything, which is getting invoked here. Let's see. Let's see whether this works or not. You can see this function defined in the parent class is the answer coming. Therefore, this pass worked, no? So line number 13 called line number 5, and line number 5 says pass my control to line number 2, and line number 2 executed, and therefore you got an answer. Interesting. Now, what if I do like this? Now there is no passing business, my friend. You made an object of child, and you called the anything function of the child itself, and this fellow called line number 6 is overriding. What does overriding mean? What overriding means is something like this. Supposedly, if I now this is an output screen, which is in front of you. This is my command prompt, and this is my output screen. Can you see the screen now? See what I'm doing. Can you see the screen now? Answer my question. I'm sure all of you will answer no, because yes, you cannot see the screen. Where is my command prompt? You can't see the command prompt now. Oh, so command prompt disappeared. Exactly. Command prompt is gone. Actually, behind this part. So command prompt is very much there, but it has gone behind it. So it's something overriding means something like this. If I take a method, child method, and I place this child method over the command prompt like this, you won't see it. That's what is happening. The line number 6 is actually coming over, he's overshadowing the line number 2. So the line number 2 called the function anything, which is inherited, which is coming as a gift from the parent to the child. Child says, parent जी मुझे आपका anything नहीं चाहिए, मैं अपना खुद का anything define करके use करूंगा. ठीक है. Parent कहता है okay, मैं खुश हूँ, जाओ करो use. So this window which you see here, imagine this is a window of line number 6. So he is hiding because he's coming over this white window. This white window is a method of the parent and is being hidden by the child's method. Simple as that. This is what overriding concept is. Simple. Now, however complex you make it, it's immaterial. It is as simple as this. But let me take another example case of overriding. So I have got example of class robot here. It's very simple. Let me explain it here only. So I've got a class robot which is having a function called action. There is a class called hello robot which is inheriting the properties from robot, and he says मेरा भी खुद का भी एक action function है. Oh, parent का भी function same नाम का, child का भी function same नाम का. So child का function will override parent's function obviously. So friends, if I create an object of hello robot and I call r.action, naturally I would see the output only of the child. I can never ever see the output of the parent, at least not in this way of coding. Okay, so I hope hello robot is clear to you. I won't ask you on the chat. If it is unclear, you can post me the route. I'm just trying to optimize every time second which we have, because so that we can do maximum in that. Now look at this. I remember some time back, Vandana posted a beautiful comment which said that, Rocky sir, it seems what are you doing right now is a case of single inheritance. I told yes, we are doing single inheritance. And she was intelligent to point that out at the right time. So look what we're doing now, friends. If you try to fit this in a diagrammatic representation, you will see that robot is one central class here, and inheriting from robot are two classes, as you could see in the code. One is hello robot, I'm writing the short form as HR, hello robot, and other is a class called dummy robot, DR. So this case where this is not a single inheritance, no, this is hierarchical inheritance. This is called as hierarchical inheritance because you have a hierarchy. You have a boss and then you have subordinates. right? You have a boss of the company, and then you have subordinates here. Like we all report to the management, no? I'm also working for a company. I hope you're also working for a college. You don't own the college. Similarly, I don't own the company. So the fundamental aspect here is that however senior you are, however senior you are the principal. Also, still you are the employee of the college, isn't it or not, right? So this becomes a hierarchical representation where this here is the superclass and these two are subclasses at the same level. So it's hierarchical inheritance. Have a look. Class robot action. So hello robot's action is actually overriding this
Sir,
fellow.
screen is not visible.
My screen is not visible, but I have never stopped my screen sharing. Just hold on for a second. It would have got hanged because so WebEx has this problem, it gets hanged. Okay, is my voice clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Let me stop sharing and again reshare. Wait. Uh, can anybody prompt on the chat? Is the screen visible? Yes or no? Okay, great. Okay, so just a second. Just a second. There are so many windows open, no, and interleaving. Okay, so yeah. So with respect to this program, which is in the Colab, class robot, hello robot, and dummy robot, I was talking about that this is an example of hierarchical inheritance where we are having a superclass and we are having two or more subclasses and both are at the same level. Now, do I see a case of overriding here? Yes, see carefully. Class hello robot has action. So hello robots action is actually overriding the robot's action method. But dummy robot has no overriding because dummy robot has a method called start on. Okay, so see what happens. See what happens. I made an object of hello robot. I is called R. Dummy robot called D. From R, I called action. I got an output as hello world, which is a part of hello robot. But when I made, or rather, when I called action from the variable D, I got robot action. You know where robot action was defined? It was defined in the superclass. See? So this teaches you one very simple thing. It is not like this that I'm forcing your mind to accept that there is overriding happening. No. Friends, if I just change to action 1, suppose hello world, hello robot has a method name action 1, huh? Suppose. Then, in that case, see what you get, robot action, robot action. That means the method action is very much there, available to both the fellows. The method action is very much there, available to hello robot as well as available to dummy robot. So if so the fundamental aspect here is this, that if you call a method which is redefined in the child version will be called. But if the child is not redefining the method, then the parent version will be called. Simple. Okay? Right. So I hope overriding is clear. I know I'm not taking too much of time for the doubt solving because we're running out of time and I have one more topic overloading to go. So I hope you appreciate why I'm trying to cut down on the doubt solving window time. So if overriding clear, please kindly type OR or overriding clear in the chat, please. Fantastic. Okay. So thanks friends for supporting me and cutting down on the window time of the route solving. Let me go to the concept of method overloading. Now, unlike a very popular language like Java, to be very honest, Python does not support method overloading at all. There is a way of method overloading which is like running around the bush. For the sake of it, we are doing it. Or there is a way of doing it for the sake of doing it. But to be very honest, Python does not support method overloading by default. It does not. So then you will wonder, no? Then Rocky ji, what program have you written if you're saying overloading not supported? I'm running this one program and explaining this in detail. Don't worry. And this will be the last program which I'll be explaining now. Let's have a look at this. So friends, as regards, I could see I made a class called human in which I have a function called say hello. For every function you have been noticing from the last 2 hours, in fact, for every function I've defined in Python, the first parameter has been blindly word self. Of course, you can change that name and make it S or make it ABC, but try and keep it self because you know everybody else would expect the parameter self to be there. And as a Python programmer, you write some code, you email it to me, and if you put ABC there, I'll first wonder why you have written ABC there. Okay? Next, I have defined a default parameter, or I've defined a parameter called name, and I've given a default value to it as none. Okay, what's the big deal? The big deal is that overloading basically means that I should be able to call this function say hello in two or more ways. I repeat, I should be able to call this function say hello in two or more ways. In this case, I can call it in two ways. How can you call it in two ways? I'll tell you. Look down. I have made an object of the class so that I could see I'm calling say hello and I'm not passing any parameter. So this is one way of calling. Agree, Rocky. So this is one way of calling where you're not passing any parameter. So in that case, obviously the parameter name would get as default value. There is none. Yes, we agree with you. Correct. Now, see what is internal working going to be. Do it in your minds. If name is not none, no. Name is none. Name is definitely none. So if will fail, and the else part is going to run, which is print hello. Further, if I wish, I can call it like this also, where you are passing some name. Let's say I pass the name Rutuja. So what's going to be the case? Rutuja is being passed, so obviously name is no longer going to be none. The default value of name will get replaced with this name called Rutuja, and the if part will go success because name is not none anymore. It will print hello Rutuja. Simple. So the fundamental aspect that could I call the function in two or more ways is accomplished. So this is kind of running around the bush and uh, satisfying the ego of the object-oriented programmers who have come from the background of Java in the development industry. Let's say you have been working in Infosys for the last 7 to 8 years and you've been working in Java, like Infosys is hardcore Java environment only, to be very honest. So if that kind of person comes down to, let's say, Accenture or EY, where like 70% crowd at EY uses Python actually, they may not even know Java also. So if a person from Infosys is shifting down to Deloitte or is shifting down to Ernst and Young, that is EY, when he says overloading नहीं होता Python में, to satisfy his ego, to satisfy his belief that no overloading होता है. So you're basically doing what? You're fooling him. You're defining functions with some default parameters, and you're allowing him to call those with default parameters. So वो तो natural है. किसी भी function को if you define with default parameters, then you can, for example, if you had two default parameters, one more default parameter we'll put. Now you can call say hello function in three ways. That's right, Rocky G, correct. So I can call this function one more case. So call the method with two parameters with Rutuja, and let's say I don't know from which department she is, but I assume she's from, let's say, CSE department. So I'll put CSE here. So and see what happens. I'll have to have now three cases, right? I'll have to have three cases. If name is not none, do this. So at the first case now will be that if name is not none and and department is not none, it's not none. So I should print hello name, comma, department, right? Two things. I should put the name and department both. Of course, I can put a hyphen in between and put this in double quotes. Comma. Name and department both gets printed. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, so please understand, I'm not wasting the time of the class writing an elif condition. I hope you are able to understand object of the program. I got hello, hello, and name error department is what went wrong? Oh, yes, yes, yes.
APTD capital.
Correct, correct. So I get hello, hello, and hello, Rutuja hyphen CS. So in short, the more the number of default arguments you have, that many number of ways plus one. That many number of ways plus one. Why did I say plus one? So you are having two default arguments here. Therefore, you're able to call this function in three ways. One, two, and three. This program can be further taken like this, that you have an elif condition. You have an elif condition, where in the elif condition you just put that name is not none. And then you go ahead printing only the name of the person. I hope all the indents are at the same level. और वो indentation mistake आएगा तो वापस फिर वो error दे देगा. I think they look at the same level. I shouldn't get any errors here. Let us see in my code running. Perfect. So hello Rutuja CSC. So three ways we have called it. Request. I've just typed in this program. Don't disturb this. Don't delete this code cell. But you can always add another code cell, no? You can always go and add another code cell like this and copy your code, which I just spoke right now, over here. I'm passing it on. Oops. Something got deleted. Wait, let me pass it to you first. Wait. Please copy the code which I just comment. I send you on the chat and put it right there on your. Okay, how many people copied this code which I just posted on the chat and ran it? So people who ran with this code also should say overloading done. Should say OL done. No, Vandana, all inheritance are not supported in Python. No, not all. You can have single inheritance, and obviously you can have multi-level inheritance. That means C from B, C is deriving from B and B is deriving from A, and you can have hierarchical inheritance. Three of them only: single, multi-level, and hierarchy. Okay, So Kauser says overloading done. Gayatri says done. Very nice. Please, some more people acknowledge fast. Good. Mohammad Ali says done. Good. So please don't think that the rest of the notebook which is left is, kind of left for good. No, 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 no. You're supposed to do it yourself. Okay. And therefore, I've kept everything coded. Otherwise, you shouldn't have coded it at all. No. I should have asked you कि मैं कोड टाइप करूंगा आप मेरे साथ टाइप करो फिर उसमें फिर दो प्रोग्राम होते थे क्लास में तो 2 घंटे में हम दो प्रोग्राम करते थे if I am typing and I ask you everybody look at the screen and start keep typing with me. The objective of doing 20 programs in 2 hours is so that we learn more concepts in quick succession. And to revise, so you have the video recorded lecture as well as you have my notebook also. I hope the session was fruitful and I hope in the last 4 days you're finding the notes are to the point because I take a lot of time and pains to develop my content. So I hope you are liking the content. Okay. So friends, I would now give away the control to Lubna. Lubna, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a very good session today also. We've been keeping all the codes also, copying all the codes so that we can use it further. And if any, in any case, if any staff or participants require it, they can ask us for the coding. And sir, it would be very helpful if you share the codes with us also. If you mail it to Samreen, then Samreen can forward it to the participants.
Done. Done.
Okay,
Sure.
okay. Thank you, sir. See you tomorrow.
Sure. Thank you.
Participants, tomorrow the session will start at 10 o'clock. And then Rocky sir's hands-on session will be again at 3. Okay,
Right.
thank you, sir. Then we'll end
Yeah.
today.
Sure. Sure. Thank you.
Ma'am, we can end. Zeba ma'am. Okay, so we'll end the session here. Thank you all for joining. See you all tomorrow. Here. Thank you all for joining. See you all tomorrow.